The triangle is one of the most common destructive obstacles for creating a healthy relationship. But most of the time, we don't notice when we're in a triangle. And once you've learned what the triangle is and how to spot it when it's happening, you are light years ahead in your capacity to build great, healthy, thriving relationships. Hi everybody, this is Greg from Heart Tools, where we make it simple to build great relationships. And as we've been talking about the importance of creating and protecting equal power in a relationship, we've done a lot of skill building around how to listen with respect to protect power. And we've done a lot of skill building around learning to respect one another's no to protect power. And now we're going to launch into staying out of the triangle because the triangle has the impact of disrupting and confusing the power dynamics in a relationship to the degree that really nothing healthy can grow in it, and yet we end up in relationships where we're doing a lot of work and having very little payoff in the relationship, and most of the time we don't even know what's going on. We don't know that we're in the triangle. So the first step of staying out of the triangle is understanding what the triangle is so that you can learn to see it when it's happening and it doesn't remain invisible and it doesn't remain this force that's destroying your relationship and you have no idea what's going on. And in order to do that, in order to understand the triangle, we need to first understand how life works. And here's how life works quite often. It starts off, I'm traveling along, and all of a sudden I have a problem. Now, maybe I'm young, and the problem that I have is I need to get myself up in the morning, right? I need to learn how to set an alarm, wake myself up so that I can get ready and go to school. Well, as soon as I learn to do this, as soon as I overcome this problem, two things happen. The first thing that happens is the problem is solved. I don't have to learn how to wake myself up ever again. I'll know how to do that for the rest of my life. So that's a good thing. The problem is solved. The second thing that's happened, though, is I've grown in my capacity to succeed in life. I've developed a new skill, and now I'm walking through life on a different level than I was before. And so I'm traveling on again, and the way life works is I invariably hit another problem. Maybe this time my mom tells me she's not going to wash my clothes anymore, and it's time for me to do that. So now I have a new problem. I need to learn how to do the laundry, right? And so I work to solve that problem and learn how to do the problem, and the same two things happen. The problem is solved. I never have to learn how to do the laundry again. I've already learned how to do that. And once again, I've grown, increased in my capacity to succeed in life. I have a bigger skill set, a capacity to succeed, and now I'm traveling along again, but at a higher level. And this happens over and over again, and each time I solve a problem, the problem is solved and stays solved, and my capacity to succeed has increased. Then one day I'm traveling, and I hit something completely different from a problem. I hit a crisis, right? So maybe I'm in a car accident, and I have to go to physical therapy just to learn how to walk again, or maybe my house is destroyed by a tornado, and I need to completely rebuild my house and get all new furniture and go through that whole thing. And a crisis is much different from a problem, because in a crisis, we really need others' help to survive it and get back to thriving. So it's really not something we can do on our own. And quite often in a crisis, our capacity to function is diminished, right? I lose the capacity to walk for a while. And so my capacity is diminished, and I need a community around me to help me get back to thriving. And then once I do that, once my community helps me and I overcome the crisis, then I'm back on my own 2 feet, as it were, and I'm ready to solve my problems and grow again. And so the stairway is really the way life works. I just have a series of problems that are almost daily, right? That I have to overcome. I have to learn to do new things. I have to solve problems that come up. But once I do, the problems stay solved. And I keep growing and growing and growing in my capacity to thrive and be successful in life. That's how life works. The triangle is how life doesn't work. And here's the difference. In the triangle, I still have a problem, right? So let's say my problem in the triangle is I need to learn to get myself up in the morning and get to school. But let's say that even though I have this problem, and it would be helpful to solve it, let's say that I have a parent who believes that that's too much for me, that would be too hard for me to get myself up, that would be too painful, or that would be too risky, because what if I fail to get myself up and I miss the bus and the day is hard? It's just too big of a hassle. It's too risky. So my parent is going to wake me up every morning instead. Now, when that happens, 2 things happen. The first is the problem doesn't get solved, right? I still don't know how to get myself up in the morning after a year of mom and dad waking me up. The problem doesn't get solved. The second thing that happens is I become weaker. And I become less able to succeed. And as time goes on, I become weaker and weaker, because a 5th grader who cannot set an alarm and get him or herself up is one level of weakness. But a senior in high school who can't do it, that's an entirely different level of weakness. And I have worked with parents before who are still getting their 26-year-olds up out of bed because they believe they don't have the capacity to do it, and if they don't get them up, then they're going to not make it to work and they're going to get fired and horrible things are happening. So they're still in the triangle where, one of the parents is the rescuer, and so the person who should be solving the problem then kind of becomes the victim in life. They're seen as a victim. They need to be rescued because life is just too hard for them. And then what happens is that sets up a power dynamic where the rescuer is the powerful person. They're the person who knows how to get up in the morning and how to do their laundry and how to read and how to do homework and how to get a job and how to balance a checkbook and all the things you need to do and thrive. And the person down on the bottom is a powerless person who's too weak, and it's just too risky for them to even be given the responsibility to solve their problem. And this is why the triangle creates havoc in the power dynamics in relationships. Because instead of 2 people in a relationship where I'm strong and I'm going to solve my problems and you're strong and you're going to solve your problems, one of us is the strong person who's going to be the rescuer, and the other is the weak person who's going to be the victim in life and needs to be taken care of. And it happens because we confuse a problem with a crisis, right? It's great to help people when they're in crisis. It's a loving thing to do. It creates a bond with you and the person that you're helping. It's very humane, right? It helps you kind of feel good about yourself that you have the capacity to help someone and love someone that way. And when we approach a problem as though we're a crisis and try to get a sense of bonding and feeling good about ourselves and we're helpful, the problem with that is that we are preventing people from doing the things that they need to do to get stronger and grow and succeed in life. And that's why we call this a harmful form of helping. And the Apostle Paul has a very interesting piece of writing where he kind of distinguishes between the two. In Galatians 6, there's a paragraph. It's a very interesting paragraph where the first line of the paragraph is, bear one another's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ, right? When we bear one another's burdens, we love one another the way Jesus loves us. But then he ends that paragraph with this sentence, for each one should carry their own load. Now that word load there in the Greek refers to the pack that a Roman soldier would carry, right? That each one has their own load, and I should carry all of my own load. I shouldn't have someone else carry part of my load, and I shouldn't carry part of someone else's load. Each one should carry their own load. So we have this distinguishing between it's a good thing to bear one another's burdens. It's good to help out in a crisis. But each one should carry their own load. Each one should fulfill their own responsibilities and solve the problems they need to solve to be able to succeed. Now, in our next video, we are going to look at a second version of the triangle that's very similar. It adds one dynamic. And then we're going to have a lot of different videos where we'll talk about why we get in the triangle, what happens to our relationships in the triangle, how to stay out of the triangle. But for now, I want to invite you to practice this simple step, and that's just practice noticing where you might already be in a triangle, right? Just practice noticing where might you be rescuing other people from problems that they really ought to be solving for themselves, that would be good for them to solve for themselves, that would are pretty normal, typical. This is someone's load that they need to carry because we expect every strong adult to be able to do this, or we expect every teenager to be able to do this, right? Practice noticing where you're rescuing others, and practice noticing where maybe others are rescuing you, and where maybe you need to take on a little bit more responsibility in solving your problem. So for now, just practice noticing. And then in other videos, we're going to talk about what to do that. But what it's going to do is it's going to set you up to take relationships that may be confusing or exhausting, maybe relationships that you think, boy, this should be a great relationship, but it just feels kind of flat, and turn them into thriving relationships. So just practice noticing where you might be in the triangle. Simple steps. Practice, practice, practice. That's what Heart Tools is all about.